YouTube. It's your man Black Reality TV, man. Back with another one. A little hiatus, man, but let's talk a little bit of boxing, shall we? So, let's talk about the welterweight division. And I want to talk about the biggest fight in the sport of boxing currently that has not been made yet. And we all know that the fight between Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. Now, I'm seeing a lot of videos talking about the business of boxing. People that are fanagers, you know what I'm saying? Guys that want to tell certain fighters what they should take and what they deserve to get when it comes to purses. Now, I don't like getting into that stuff, but I'm going to talk about it in this video because I feel like it needs to be talked about. It was one video that I saw in particular. It was Errol Spence's strength and conditioning coach. I believe they're still together. Blu-ray. And this is no shot at Blu-ray. All due respect to this brother, good brother. Does excellent work training. Errol Spence, getting him ready, preparing for fights, and it was something that he said in the live stream, talking about. I didn't catch the whole thing though, but he was talking about basically what Terence Crawford should be getting, as far as certain percentages, whenever Errol Spence and Terence Crawford fight. And you see this going on a lot in the boxing world on YouTube, where, like I said, you got fans out here telling certain fighters what they work. Now, people want to say that Terence Crawford is not a huge draw, and yes, you can say that far as the pay-per-view side. But what Terence Crawford does fight on, you know what I'm saying, regular TV, he does excellent numbers. You know what I'm saying, on ESPN, the platform, Top Rank, which he's formerly was with Top Rank and Bob Arum. You know, he was doing 1 million, 2 million views virtually almost every time he fights on ESPN. Now, we know that Terence Crawford hasn't had the most, you know what I'm saying, the most pleasing numbers as far as pay-per-view wise. I believe he's had 2 pay-per-views or 3. I think 3 pay-per-views. I think his last one was obviously against Sean Porter, and you know what I'm saying. They said the numbers did like a little under 200,000 pay-per-view buys, which I think that's his highest of since Terence Crawford has been on pay-per-view. And now people want to say, well, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, when it comes to negotiations, that Errol Spence should get the lion's share of the money due to the fact that he has been on pay-per-view, I believe, the same amount of times as Terence Crawford, and he's done better numbers. Now, my thing is this. Terence Crawford, yes, hasn't had the same numbers as Errol Spence when it comes to pay-per-view sales. But when you look at it, it's not like Errol Spence is doing astronomical numbers on pay-per-view. And the reason why I wanted to bring Blu-ray into it, because he said something that I've seen on social media when they talk about this potential fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and they want to compare Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. Now, that's why I scratched my head, because it's 2 totally separate situations, man. When you look at the time period when Oscar De La Hoya was fighting, Oscar De La Hoya was doing ground breaking numbers for a non-heavyweight. Oscar De La Hoya, when he fought Felix Trinidad, that did over 1 million views. I believe it was like 1.5 million, which at that time period was the highest grossing pay-per-view in boxing history for a non-heavyweight fight. Oscar De La Hoya had a couple other pay-per-views that cracked close to a million. Uh, Bernard Hopkins, 900,000 plus pay-per-views. Fernando Vargas, 900,000 plus pay-per-views. The rematch between him and Shane Mosley did over 900,000 uh, plus pay-per-view buys. Errol Spence he hasn't even done 500,000 pay-per-view buys. Not even 400,000 pay-per-view buys. If you look at between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence has done, if you take Errol Spence's highest pay-per-views and Terence Crawford's highest pay-per-view and line it up, it's not that big of a difference. So, in my opinion, I don't think that Errol Spence is a way bigger draw than Terence Crawford is. And then you look at the accomplishments. I mean, Terence Crawford, regardless of what you want to say about his competition, who he has fought, Terence Crawford has fought who there was at the time. Terence Crawford is a 3-time world champion, former undisputed champion at 140, had 16 world title fights compared to six world title fights for Errol Spence. The more accomplished fighter overall. So why is it outrageous for him if, let's say, he wants 50-50 split? How is that outrageous? And that's why I don't understand, like, that people that, like I'm saying, this, like I said, there's no tap on Blu-ray. How can you compare Oscar De La Hoya? Oscar De La Hoya and Errol Spence are not even on the same level when it comes to pay-per-views, bro. Oscar De La Hoya is in a different stratosphere, man. And like I said, Errol Spence hasn't even done 500,000. I think his highest, is 350,000 pay-per-view buys. So, of course, Floyd Mayweather is going to take the lion's share of the money. At the time, Floyd's highest pay-per-view was when he fought Zab Judah, was little under 400,000 pay-per-view buys. And like I said, Oscar De La Hoya hit 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Done multiple pay-per-views, cracking close to 1 million. So, of course, he's going to, I don't know the percentages of Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather as far as the splits, but I know Oscar De La Hoya got the lion's share of the money. Even though Floyd was considered the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter at the time, but Oscar De La Hoya was the money generator in the sport of boxing below the heavyweight division. You can't say that about Errol Spence. Errol Spence is not the biggest draw, the biggest money maker out under the heavyweight division. So that comparison between Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, that's not a non-comparison. You can't make that comparison. It doesn't match up. So who to say, us as box fans, that what this man has accomplished? How is it crazy that if he is asking 50-50, how is that crazy? Errol Spence gave Mikey Garcia 50-50 split. Why can't Bud get 50-50 split? Terence Crawford is a more accomplished fighter than Mikey Garcia is. Better overall fighter than Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is a good fighter, but he is not on Terence Crawford's level. You didn't hear a bunch of fans crying and complaining about splits when it comes to Mikey Garcia or Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is not as accomplished as Bud. Nor Sean Porter, and he just stopped Sean Porter. Something that Errol Spence didn't do. And whether you want to say that it was a premature stoppage, at the end of the day, he got the stoppage. He's got the same amount of title defenses that Errol Spence got. Five title defenses at 147, just like Errol Spence did. So that's my case of why Terence Crawford should get 50-50 split, but I really don't care. I just want to see the motherfucking fight. It's 3+ years in the making. It's long enough. It's overdue. We just need to see this fight in 2022, man. Let me know what y'all guys think, man. Like the commentary, subscribe to the channel, man. Shout out to the whole LDBC, the Lions Den Boxing Community. It's your man Black Rabbit TV. Signing off, man. Deuce.